Earl showed up to Kentucky Lake with a tackle box that probably cost less than your last fast food run. No fish finder. No $100 Humminbird unit mounted on the bow. No Garmin side imaging eating his bank account. Just a worn spinning rod, a handful of hooks, and something small in his shirt pocket. The guy 2 docks down had the full setup. Lowrance HDS 12 Live. Brand new rod and reel combo. Fresh fluorocarbon line. He'd been on the water since 5 a.m. reading structure maps on a tablet like he was prepping for a corporate presentation. By 9:30 a.m., Earl had 19 largemouth in his live well. The tech guy had 2. Before I tell you what Earl had in that pocket, drop a comment right now telling me what state you're watching from. I read every single one. Earl reached into his shirt, pulled out a small rusty bolt, the kind you'd sweep off your garage floor, pinched it above his hook on a drop-shot rig, and threw it out. No fuss, no ritual. Like he'd done it 1,000 times. Because he had 17 more fish than a $1,000 sonar. Same lake, same morning, same conditions. This isn't luck. It's not folklore. There is a real chemical and biological reaction happening the second that corroded metal hits the water. Bass, catfish, walleye, it doesn't matter. The reaction is the same every time. 3 different base tournament circuits have flagged this technique. Not because it breaks any rule. Because other competitors filed complaints about the results. When tournament directors start paying attention to a garage bolt, you know something real is going on. The tackle industry will never tell you this, because there's no way to charge $80 for something you already have in a junk drawer. Think about what the fish finder industry is worth. Humminbird, Lowrance, Garmin. Sonar units alone move close to $2 billion a year. Add rods, reels, lures, scent sprays, premium line. American recreational fishing clears $49 billion annually. Every dollar of that depends on you believing you need more gear. And somewhere inside that business model is a very good reason why this has never shown up in a sponsored YouTube video. If word got out, if every weekend angler on Lake Texoma, Guntersville, or the Upper Mississippi knew this, the electronics section at Bass Pro Shops would collect dust. You don't need side imaging sonar to locate fish when you're using something that triggers a strike reflex, regardless of where the fish is sitting. The sonar finds fish. This makes them hit. The catfishermen on the lower Mississippi knew this. The old base guides on Sam Rayburn Reservoir in East Texas knew it. The river guides working Ozark streams for 40 years knew it, and they kept quiet because it was their edge. It got buried under marketing budgets and influencer deals. The science never went anywhere, though. And before I walk you through what's actually happening underwater, there's something else the industry buried that I want to put in your hands right now. The knowledge that made those old river guides dangerous wasn't in any tackle shop. Reading current breaks, understanding where fish actually hold versus where they look like they should hold on a depth chart, knowing which underwater structure matters and which is just noise on a screen. None of that comes in a blister pack. I spent a long time pulling that together from old guides, tournament veterans, and traditional fishermen who learned to read water before GPS existed. That's high-level fishing. The water game. The stuff that doesn't ship with your fish finder. The tackle industry won't hand you this because they can't mark it up 400%. In the pinned comment below, there's the complete guide to start reading water and catching more fish the way the old-timers did. Just click. Now, back to that bolt. Because what's actually happening inside the water when corroded steel hits it is something most fishermen have never heard explained. And once you get it, You'll never look at a rusty screw the same way. Here it is, plain steel bolt or wood screw. 1/2 inch to 1 inch long, must be steel. Not stainless, not aluminum, not galvanized. The rust has to be orange-brown surface rust, not black powder, not flaking. You want active oxidation on solid metal underneath. Total cost, 0. You already have this somewhere. When corroded steel hits fresh or brackish water, galvanic corrosion accelerates. The iron oxide starts releasing ferrous ions into the water column. At the same time, the metal generates a microelectrical field, a low-level continuous pulse that instruments can barely detect. Fish are built to detect exactly this. The lateral line, that row of sensory cells running along each side of a fish's body, picks up pressure changes, vibrations, and electromagnetic disturbances in the water column. Base can detect a pressure change from 30 feet away. Channel catfish have skin electroreceptors sensitive to electrical fields as weak as 0.01 microvolts. Here's the analogy that makes it click. A wounded baitfish releases iron from its blood. Its muscles generate erratic electrical pulses as it struggles. That is the exact electrochemical signature that predator fish have evolved over millions of years to hunt down. It's not a preference. It's a reflex baked into their nervous system. A corroded steel bolt produces those same ferrous ions and that same microcurrent. The fish doesn't decide to strike. It just does. It can't help it. That's why Earl's Garage Bolt outfished a $100 sonar by 17 fish before lunch. The sonar found fish. The bolt made them commit. Now here's the exact setup, step by step. And there's one specific step that almost everyone skips. Skip it, and you've just got hardware soaking in water doing nothing. You need 3 things: a plain steel screw or bolt, 1/2 to 1 inch, with orange surface rust, a drop shot rig or Carolina rig, and 45 seconds of patience after every cast. Step 1. Find the right hardware. Check your garage floor, junk drawer, old coffee can. If you're buying, plain steel wood screws at any hardware store run a few cents each. Avoid anything labeled stainless, zinc-coated, or galvanized. Those are engineered not to corrode. Plain steel only. Step 2. Do not clean it. Don't wipe the rust off. Don't sand it. Don't handle it more than necessary. The rust is the mechanism. Cleaning it kills the whole thing. Step 3. Thread it onto your line above the hook. On a drop shot, position it 8 to 12 inches above the hook. On a Carolina rig, run it as part of the leader. The screw needs to be suspended in the water column. Not floating on top, not buried in bottom silt. Step 4. Wait before you work the bait. After the cast, sit still for 45 seconds minimum. The galvanic reaction needs time to build and establish a signal in the water column around your presentation. Cast and immediately start retrieving, and you kill the effect before it starts. 45 seconds. Set a timer on your phone the first few times if you need to. This positioning and wait time principle. It's one of the setups in the high-level fishing guide, alongside rigs for different species and water types. Worth having if you want to take this further than one technique. One screw, properly rusted, holds up for 4 to 6 outings before the rust gets too far gone. Keep a handful in a small Ziploc in your bag. Replace when it starts flaking apart instead of oxidizing solid. Everything here costs you $0. The Humminbird Mega 360 at Bass Pro right now sits at $1,399. I just want that number to sit there. But having the right setup is only half of it. There are 2 specific mistakes people make when they hit the water with this, and one of them completely cancels out everything you just learned. Where you put it matters. Target structure edges, the drop-off points where a flat transitions to deeper water. Points on reservoir banks, submerged timber on lakes like Toledo Bend in East Texas, Truman Lake in Missouri, or Dale Hollow in Tennessee. On rivers, work the current seams where fast water meets slow water. That's where ambush predators sit and wait. Best time window: first light to about 2 hours after sunrise, then again from 1 hour before sunset through dark. Water temps between 55 and 70 satutudug. That's when bass and walleye lateral line sensitivity is at its peak, and cooler water carries the electrochemical signal farther through the column. Species that respond best: largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, channel catfish, blue catfish, and walleye across the Great Lakes and upper Midwest. All ambush predators, all wired for exactly this signal. The fatal error, and this is the one that kills the whole setup, is using a stainless steel screw. Stainless is engineered specifically to resist corrosion. No corrosion means no ferrous ions. No ions means no microcurrent. No current means you're dragging a shiny piece of hardware through the water that does exactly nothing. Most hardware stores push stainless for outdoor use, which makes it completely useless here. Plain steel, surface rust. That's the whole mechanism. Once you run this once and see what's in your live well at the end of the morning, you're going to start asking what else got buried. Because there's more. A lot more. Picture your next trip out. Doesn't matter if it's a Saturday morning on Lake Fork, a weekday session on the Ohio River, or an evening on a local reservoir, you've fished 100 times without much to show for it. The guy in the next boat has a $1,400 fish finder and a rod that costs more than your car payment. You've got a rusty screw you found under your workbench. You cast in, wait 45 seconds, start working the bait. An hour later, your live well is fuller than his. He leans over and asks what you're throwing. You hold up the bolt. He doesn't believe you. You shrug and cast again. That's the spot Earl lived in for 40 years on Kentucky Lake. Now you know why. Click now. Secure your access to high-level fishing, the water game, and let these strategies start transforming your next fishing trips. The link is in the first pinned comment. When you get back from the water applying what you learned, come back here and comment, "Caught more." That's your commitment to your evolution in fishing. And maybe that's exactly the step that separates the stories you hear from the stories you're going to start telling. The old guides on the Tennessee River and the Ozark streams weren't missing fish because they lacked technology. They were reading the water while everyone else was reading instruction manuals. That knowledge is still out there. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one.